Welcome to In Defense of, making the case for overlooked, forgotten or derided movies in 5 minutes or less. Don't have 5 minutes? Here's 5 seconds. Today, In Defense of, Bad Channels, a 1992 sci-fi comedy musical thing about aliens and the state of alternative music in the early 90s. I'm about to compare it to Dickens.
If you come in the door right now, you will be killed!
That does it. He's broadcasting death threats.
What?
Disgraced DJ Dan O'Dare is rebuilding his career at newly national radio station Superstation 66. Known for his publicity stunts, Dan's ratings shoot through the roof when he reports that aliens have taken over the station, using the radio signal to locate young women, shrink them down, and add them to a grotesque collection. Too bad that it's not a gimmick. Dan is telling the truth, but his listeners don't buy it. Luckily for him, he has ambitious reporter Lisa Cummings on the outside, working to uncover the alien plot. The year is 1992. Business is booming for straight-to-video B-movie champions Full Moon. 10 films released in the space of the past 3 years, increasing to 1 every 2 months in 1992. It's time to expand into new markets. How about music? Sure, good idea. But how to get started? Do what Full Moon do best. Make a movie. Round up some local untapped talent. Maybe get a couple of established names on board. Cast your most popular rising star. Construct a plot that somehow gets them all on screen and release it to your loyal, hungry, established fanbase. Hope it garners enough attention to put out an official soundtrack and then maybe individual albums for the featured bands. I've no idea if any of that is true, but it's the only explanation I can come up with for Bad Channels. Initially a straight up spoof/homage of hokey 50s sci-fi, the movie begins wacky but really goes into what the hell am I watching territory about half an hour in when the first music video kicks in. Yup, music video. Bad Channels peppers its aliens invaded radio station storyline with 3 centerpiece music videos. They're all entertaining in their own way, but what is really interesting in hindsight is the choice of bands in relation to when the film was made. First up is Fair Game, an almost all-female hair metal band. Bear in mind this is 1992 and hair metal was all but dead, killed by the emergence of grunge, which segues nicely into the turn of DMT. Grunge was about as big as it got in 1992, and just look at these guys. They are about as 1992 as it gets. Their song is about masturbation. The final group, and easily the most memorable, a Psychotic Symphony. They're a quirky sort of prototypical rap metal band, and indicative of the direction popular rock music would take later in the decade. Their appearance is comfortably the highlight of the film. With representation of the past, present and future, Bad Channels is the A Christmas Carol of 90s alternative rock. Beyond the songs, Bad Channels is memorable for its array of bizarre looking aliens. This is clearly a brain-in-the-jar robot, and this is a sort of Venus flytrap thing, but how can you describe this? It's still obviously a man in a suit, and it's no xenomorph or pumpkinhead, but it makes a change to see a creative use of a limited budget. An odd, asymmetrical monstrosity is an infinitely more interesting alien visual than minor makeup effects or a dodgy wig.
I see Bobby, I see Susie, I see Billy.
Bad Channels feels thrown together and slapdash. Full Moon Big Cheese Charles Band is known for throwing everything at the wall and seeing what sticks, but this one is especially nonsensical. Take for example the alien plot. They lock down a radio station, then locate young women who are listening. Somehow they can see them, whatever, okay. They induce a hallucination, these are the music videos, that causes them to shrink down and teleport into a little jar. I have 2 tiny questions here. How and why? They're never addressed, which supports the idea that the filmmakers just needed some way, any way of getting music videos into a movie. The DMT video is particularly shameless. It just smells like Teen Spirit. They didn't even try to hide it. It's a little bit embarrassing to watch such an obvious rip-off, and it's not the only time I feel that way during the film. There's one part where Dan O'Dare does this awful Chinese caricature voice, and I don't know why he does it, and I kind of have to pretend I don't exist for a few seconds. Do you know what the most impressive part of Bad Channels is? It's this sequence. The cinematography, the acting, the music, they're all great here. Too bad that this is a post-credits scene advertising a completely different film.
It poked me with some kind of rod or something right near my chest!
Bad Channels is weird, even for Full Moon, and there's not much else like it. However, there is an earlier Charles Band production that is very similar. Dr. Alien. Same charming presentation, love for hokey sci-fi, and era-appropriate musical performance. I remember reading that Netflix have trouble categorizing Napoleon Dynamite in their recommendation system because it doesn't correlate with any audience viewing habits. I feel as though Bad Channels is in the same boat. It's worth watching just because it's so unusual. If you go in aware that both the good and the bad are of their time, there's every chance you'll have fun. Moonstone Records, the record label that Full Moon formed around this time, released a number of soundtracks to their films and an album or two by metal band Quiet Riot, but nothing else by the acts featured in Bad Channels. What became of them? I can find literally no information about DMT, so I think we can assume they didn't make it. Psychotic Symphony broke up a couple of years after Bad Channels, but guitarist Brian Young, he's the Nun, went on to play guitar for former Van Halen vocalist David Lee Roth. Fair Game were fronted by Ron Keel, who was in a stack of 80s hair metal bands who never really broke through. Amazingly, he's still performing in 2018, and appropriately enough, for the last few years, he's been a radio DJ.